Again, we are in December 2021, and what is happening on planet Earth is that the Earth herself is awakening. And what does it mean when the Earth awakens, and why was she asleep? That's the question. So from the memories that we share from Mu, that some people call Lemuria, from Atlantis, we have talked about this often, but really just to give it a quick recap, is that every time life force as that rainbow love light was not used for the well-being of all, for love, for goodwill, for creativity, for expansion, if that life force was used any opposite way, let's say to harm someone or something within this body of life, then it created this entanglement that some people would call karma. And when more and more beings started to really misuse life force or use life force to harm any part of life, then it created a very big energetic imbalance. I was looking at the Earth last night from a perspective that I would call cosmic, and I was not alone. I would say we were together. It was about 2,000 of us looking at the Earth from, let's say, our galaxy, from a distance. And what we could see is all the energetic portals on the Earth and the grid work. The Earth is a living, breathing being. And so just like our body, where we have organs, we have systems, we have flows of energy, we have meridians, we have acupuncture points. The Earth has exactly the same thing, but she's a sphere. So we were looking at her last night, again, about 2,000 of us, and we were just seeing how there are still portals, of course, that will need to be revitalized. And not only that, but we saw a lot of dark, and I say dark because it looks dark, energy or dirty energy that is stuck kind of underneath this planetary grid work. So in a way, and this is why the beings that have been guiding this work often call the Earth a gas chamber. It is because there is basically this planetary grid around the Earth that contains so much distortion, and underneath it is that dirt from all the miscreated energy. And this is life force. And so our purpose as humanity is to actually assist the Earth in liberating herself from all this dirt. And we do that when we use the violet flame. And also our purpose, specifically for those of us who came here to assist with this process, is also to revitalize the portals on this planet. So in a way to revitalize the flow of life force. So everything comes down to life force. And so at the end of Mu, and I say the end, is there was so much imbalance when it comes to life force, with beings harming some part of life and each other, which obviously is the expression of very deep unconsciousness. And when we express our unconsciousness that way, through obviously harming any part of life, harming each other, judging, hating, we do not behave like nature does. We actually miss the point that all is actually one, because how could nature not be all one? So these imbalances then can be you can try to rebalance them. And Mother Nature does it. We know it as like using the elements of fire, air, water, and earth and ether, of course, to create chaos. And when you create chaos, you can kind of try to find a new equilibrium. And so that's why we have these cataclysmic events in our past, where you clear as much as possible of this energy. And through cataclysm, you can have a new, fresh start, but you will not be starting from a clean slate. You will be starting with distortions. So the beginning of Atlantis, we are starting after the clearing, after the chaos, after the sinking of most of Mu. We are starting already with distorted grid. It was not completely destroyed, but it was distorted because of what happened in Mu. Now, the beings in Atlantis, to start with, they tried to maintain very high consciousness, right? And we had a lot of different beings mixing here. And they knew that first you have to be coherent with yourself. So in a way, your personal spiritual path, where you realize that despite the fact that you are in an individualized body, you actually are part of something very large. And hence, service to others is really important because we all belong into the same body. So basically, it's like your body, you have trillions of cells. And let's say that 1 trillion of your cells would be fighting another trillion of your cells or judging the other trillion of your cells. You know what that would create. That would create disease. So it would be beneficial for all the cells to understand that they actually all belong in one body. And then if the cells realize that, they become self-realized, and they realize that on some level they are all one. And so it makes sense to actually be using life force to promote the well-being of the body. So basically you have to start from that micro level to get to the macro level. So on a very basic level in Atlantis, many beings would try to maintain higher consciousness so that we could have the flourishing of the world that we are in. And for us, in this case, that would be the Earth. And so we had a very high consciousness. But at the same time, what happened, of course, through all these distortions in the grid, is that there was a dysfunction. And the dysfunction in Atlantis was, again, the same thing, misuse of life force. There are different ways to misuse life force, and definitely you can imagine what happened in the history of humanity, also the ancient histories. So harming any part of life, exploiting any part of life, judging any part of life, hating any part of life, using, so all these things are basically misuse of life force. So I have just 2 memories of Atlantis, and both of them are the end of Atlantis. One is like the day Atlantis ended, and how these beings that I would call the Watchers or the Elohim, they were sent to the Earth at the end of Atlantis to kind of fix the problem, but they failed. So I'm going to say we failed. And it was because, and this is the fun part, sexuality as energy was being misused on planet Earth. And today you would think, well, who doesn't misuse sexual energy? Come on. Pretty much almost everyone in this world. But it was one of the things why Atlantis fell. The other reason why Atlantis fell is because the beings in Atlantis did not maintain high consciousness connected to nature. They tried, but they didn't manage. And I think part of it is the distortion that started in Mu. So the blueprint, it's like making a copy of something. The original blueprint was perfect in Mu, and then you try to have it work in Atlantis, but it didn't work. So the more copies you make of something, the bigger the distortion, right? So also one of the last memories of Atlantis is that I could see how every single portal that you have here, and I'm going to show you another picture of the portal. The Earth herself has these acupuncture points that we can call portals. They are natural energetic points around the Earth, and we have 33 of those. 33 being a very important master number, right, in mysticism and esoteric traditions. But this is not what this is about. This is about the portals. The portals themselves are created by nature. It is nature, for example, in our own bodies, that creates the acupuncture flow. It is nature that creates flow of energy in cosmos. It is nature doing all of this. It is the nature that is expressed. So because our planet is pure nature, of course, she has natural portals, natural acupuncture points, and the natural connections between these points that you can call the meridians. At the end of Atlantis, I know that through, again, the misuse of life force, we created immense imbalance of energy on planet Earth. And since everything is energy, when energy becomes unbalanced in one way or the other, it really doesn't matter what caused it. But when energy is out of balance, it tips the balance of the system. So imagine at the end of Atlantis, a lot of beings were sitting together, let's say it would be at some gathering with, hundreds and thousands of other beings. And suddenly something happens that everyone on the planet feels. It's like a shock, an energetic shock. And what it did is that it really completely disconnected these portals. They became inactive, dormant. Energy just flipped the switch. And that meant the whole body of the Earth kind of lost the grid. Nothing was flowing. So that was the major, really, disruption to the consciousness of all beings on the planet. So they would be sitting together, let's say you're talking to someone, suddenly you feel like something happened. Everybody goes quiet for a moment. And then nobody knows what really happened, and they resume whatever they were doing, but actually they fell in the deepest amnesia ever. And then they went on and on and on, but no one knew what really happened and that they all forgot. Everybody would still be alive, but because everyone was thrown into this instantaneous amnesia, and we are still in it, no one could really fully understand what happened. No one was even thinking about it because it was like suddenly a new dream started. So that's why we call it the dream within a dream. And everyone was without this deep, ancient, continuous consciousness. So we have been in that world for 12,000 years, in this amnesia, dream within a dream, where we all forgot how things really work in actually not just this world, but the whole cosmos. And with this forgetfulness, we look at things like ancient sites that are so immaculate. We have no idea how they were built, why they were built. And that is because the fall, that we can call it, some people call it fall from grace, was the fall from consciousness. It was fall from being an advanced civilization. And it was the fall of complete knowing, because now it feels like we are the only ones in this cosmos. Nobody knows anything. We don't know why our ancient people were building these really advanced structures that aligned with portals in the universe. But now is the time of awakening. And we often talk about awakening, but this is the awakening of these portals within the Earth. And we have this very large team of at least 2,000 beings who are here embodied, like you and me, in a body of a human being, who came not only with these ancient memories, but also with skills to actually get the job done. So the Earth told us last night that this will be done, this will be accomplished, as she moves her poles and she shifts her energy, and she has the help of so many cycles, so many beings. Some people call it the company of heaven, some people call it the Galactic Federation of Light. So, we are not alone doing this job. And basically, we have this ground crew, I like when people call it that, here, which is you and me, who are highly skilled in restoring these portals to align them once again with the universal grid. So this is pretty much the big picture of what we are doing right now. And of course, we are bringing in the energies from other star systems, and we're working with a lot of different beings who come to do this. This is the goal, to return the Earth, now that it's possible once again, back to her own aliveness. And we don't do it by saying, like me as a human, oh, I think it would be a great idea to work on a portal in Giza. No, we actually just are here in human bodies. And our consciousness is very much knowing exactly of what is needed. So the larger being who actually has the skills and knows exactly how this is done. And for some of us, actually, we have very, very specific memories. And I would say, like Matthias de Stefano, obviously, he shows us what the new human will be like, someone who remembers all that we are. And that will be us once this gets really fixed. And how does it get fixed? Well, again, by us awakening with the Earth and showing up for her and restoring her. And why do we do it? We do it because this is her natural cycle. This is really, again, nature just waking up a planet that was asleep. And we are part of her. And as you can imagine, planets are very important. Stars are very important because they are like a collection of information in cosmos. So in 2015, I had this amazing encounter that I call Encounter with Source. And I was shown that really everything in creation looks like cosmos, and that you have Source emanating light, love. And then you have these stars, some very big, some little small ones, emanating light, receiving light, and transmitting light. And I realized that every being is a star. And when we become big in our own energy body and in our consciousness, we just become bigger stars, brighter stars. And when we are constantly evolving into more of what we are. And so every star and planet is, in a way, a portal of information, because it's a portal of experiences. And no experience ever is lost in creation, because each is valuable as a possibility of what is possible in creation. And so when we have planet Earth, we have billions of years of experiences here that humans made, that the planet made, that other species have made, that many different beings of different origins have made. And the Earth herself is the collection of that information. And so we cannot allow unconsciousness to destroy a whole planet, which is like a library of information. And that's why we are here. We are here in a way to prevent, a cataclysm. We are also here to prevent unconsciousness in terms of human action, such as political decisions, military decisions, that would actually harm such an important being that is the Earth herself. And so that is the big mission for 2021, 2022, is to allow the Earth to start breathing again, not to be a gas chamber. That's why these portals will be opening, and we will be working mainly actually out of body at night on these portals. And that's why it's so important for humanity to remember that we are all nature, and that we are part of nature, and that we must actually get to know the mother again, because she is the return of the mother. She is the return of the divine feminine energy. And it's very interesting, because when she started coming through me in a way that I could feel her pain, we these days don't think much when we throw something in trash, but she made me feel the pain of trash. And that's, just one thing that she made me feel. She actually experiences a lot of pain through our choices in this world. And that's just one little thing that not many people think about, that every time we put something in trash, it will end up in the belly of the mother. And for her, that was something that needed to be reversed, And so becoming kind of like an environmentalist, really, and standing up for the right of the mother and not putting any garbage into her belly, but also not into our own bellies, if you can imagine, because we are part of her and the body is aligned with her. So there is a lot going on planet Earth, and this is just an update for today.